Wichita, Kansas, pros and cons of the winter real estate market here. I want to go over that today, give you 3 pros and 3 cons. Before we get into all that, though, please like, comment, subscribe, share on it all. Really help support the channel, grow it, show it to more people that want to learn about Wichita and real estate and the market here and the local cultural knowledge. But this is what I've come to realize and gather from the last 8 years of being a licensed agent, selling hundreds of homes and talking with a lot of people buying and selling and doing deals in this market, from the front lines of what I've seen from actual experience, not from theory or hearsay or, headlines and all the BS that goes with that. So I'm going to go over 3 pros first, then get into 3 cons in a little bit more detail on everything. So the first pro about where we're currently at in the winter real estate market is that you're only dealing with serious buyers and serious sellers at this time. Typically, if you have a listing that's out there right now, you're selling that listing, you have it on the market because you have to, because you need to sell that thing. So in a lot of ways, like, the type of people, the type of seller, the type of listing that's out there is more serious about doing this because they need to, they have to, not just because like they kind of want to and they want to get the best price and that kind of thing out there. So the same thing goes with buyers, is that the people that are out looking to buy right now, especially where the interest rates are at, and everything else going on, like the people that are out there really are good buyers. So even though there may not be as many of them, the quality of them is there because they're in a situation usually too, whereas buyers, they need to move, they need to buy, they have to buy. Either that's a relocation situation, they're getting kicked out of their rental situation, a myriad of a lot of different things. So a lot of reload buyers are what happens and are good for this situation, for whatever life reason, life situations going on there. Typically the people that are active right now are serious and in the need to, have to type of situation. And that kind of goes true for the agents that still work through the winter too, are the need to, have to type of full income, full employment type of realtor that comes with who works during this time of year. On everything. So that's the first pro, is that you're really only dealing with serious buyers, serious sellers. Right now, what I'm seeing as the second pro is that, especially this time of year, October, November, is where there's more inventory to choose from, because all the people that tried to sell over the spring and the summer or pushed it off and waited and are now trying to kind of like a little bit late to the table, you start to see this uptick in listings of all these people still trying to pull it off before the end of the year, because either they put it off or they delayed or whatever, and they're like, I still want to sell, I still want to list, I still want to put it out there. And so you're starting to see more inventory go on right now. Whereas that we're at like 15 listings, 1,515 listings. And that's one of the highest it's been all year for more inventory. So in a lot of ways, that's good, because as a buyer, you have more options that comes with that. And you can get into more negotiating and creative deal structuring, which is actually the third pro, is that sellers who are on the market right now are going to be more open to paying for closing costs, doing rate buy downs, doing these creative like type of options that most sellers in a normal prime good market of like the spring or when interest rates were lower weren't having to entertain those things as much, where now that we have a little bit more space, a little more time, we can negotiate a little bit more. We can creatively put deals together with like down payment assistant programs, closing costs paid for, rate buy downs. Like one that I'm looking at with a couple that's looking to sell their home in Georgia or Savannah, Georgia, and buy here cash, but it's contingent on selling their house there cash. And even if that's like a longer time frame, like they're okay with the price here, like, and they talk about potentially moving in and leasing early for all that. So that's kind of more of a creative deal structure that we can come up with to still get deals done that makes sense for the seller to get their home sold and the buyer to be able to buy the home, but then also be able to move here because they're getting jobs here on everything. And they're moving here to be closer to family. So there's a lot more complicated, complex moving parts, but deals are still being done. But because of the market and the winter and everything else, it's more likely that those things can get pulled off than when it's crazier and it's busier and all that. So if you're kind of looking for a deal, looking to negotiate, looking to like put some things together that wouldn't normally go through in a more competitive market, that's where as a seller, you can still have things still get your house sold, but you got to be more open to those type of things. And you can get your home sold. It's just, you got to be a little more open to creative deal structuring. And then as a buyer, you kind of look at the same ways. You can negotiate a little bit more, you can put things together more, and you can kind of test how much these sellers really need to or just want to sell their home and play that game back and forth. So the winter market isn't necessarily like a bad time to buy or sell, depending on what your personal life situation is. You just kind of have to know how to navigate it, how to work it, and play the game, play the field, which is, good agents like ourselves that have been doing this for a while understand that's a lot of what goes into this industry is matching up all the moving parts and the pieces of the puzzle to come up with modern solutions to modern problems on everything. So there's 3 pros of the winter market for Wichita, Kansas. Now, some of the cons, I'm going to address this objectively and not act like everything is perfect and wonderful and beautiful and there's nothing to deal with. Like, we're not delusionally positive and toxic positivity or whatever you call that term. So the first one is going to be kind of obvious. Like, there's going to be less daylight and colder temps to go around. So less daylight, you have less light to evaluate a home, look at it in person, like look at everything goes on with that. Same thing with like the colder temps. People are just less likely to want to do anything, just because when you have less daylight and you have colder temperatures, it tends to make humans not want to do as much, not want to take action. And just because of the nature of the weather of everything, like it kind of just slows down overall, which is the second con, is just you have less activity overall. Just in all regards, is that people just move slower in the winter, period. Like the whole economy does. Like, they're usually focused on the holidays and buying all their like toys and gifts and all those things for Christmas, same thing like giving, and they're playing with all those things, and it kind of goes on a downward trend like into the end of the year of everything. But in some ways, like, you can still get a house before Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's a pretty cool, enjoyable memory to go with all that. But you have less daylight, colder temps, less activity overall in our market. And then the third con that I'm going to address is that it can take longer to buy or sell. And depending on your personal situation where that's at. So you kind of have to be okay with, look at putting together longer deal structures, longer closing situations, or if you have your house on market to list, like it may take longer to sell because we're in the winter. And, there's other things that if it doesn't sell right away, you just got to kind of wait for the right buyer to come around where the deal works out, the situation works out, and we can put something together as a solution on it all. And that typically takes a little bit longer around this time of year. And with the economy, interest rates, all those things combined, you're just going to have to kind of take a longer, vision mindset of getting things done at this point with it all. It doesn't necessarily mean your price is going to go down in value, because if you have a certain amount of buyers that are out there and they're okay with the price, but they just either don't like the house or it's not the right life situation, doesn't mean you need to just drop price, especially if you don't have to. If you're in a stable financial position, doesn't mean you have to just drop price all the time to get it to sell. A lot of times these other incentives like rate buy downs, closing costs, things of that nature are more appealing to get someone to offer you the price you're asking than just dropping the price all the time. So if your realtor is only proposing dropping the price to get your home sold and you're in a stable situation, like, you don't always have to do that. Like, sometimes you just got to wait it out, like, on it all. Because the truth is that we all kind of got spoiled by the last 2 or 3 years. Like, it takes a while to get homes to sell. It takes weeks and months typically to get a home sold on everything, not just like a few hours or a few days, like when interest rates were 2 and 3%, which now they're up to 8%. You got to factor in that whole environment that goes with that. It's going to naturally slow things down from a whole environment perspective. And we're going into the winter of everything, when everything kind of normally naturally slows down, honestly, in the entire economy, especially in real estate and everything that goes with it. So that's the 3 cons that go with the Wichita winter real estate market: less daylight and colder temps, less activity overall, and it can take longer to buy or sell. So there's 3 pros and 3 cons of the Wichita, Kansas winter real estate market. Give you some advice on what I've seen over the last 8 years, and also just what is currently going on from selling hundreds of homes and having just the credibility and track record. I don't do that to like pump up my ego, but just give you some legitimacy of where the insights and the understanding is coming from. If I can help you in any way, feel free to give me a call, send them on my website, look at houses, check out the price of your home, any of those tools and systems that I can help to provide value to you, as the real estate market for buyers and sellers. I appreciate watching as always. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.